Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All Things Middle-earth here with a video looking at the two new kit changes for Kirun and the King of the Dead. We're going to look at what their current kits are, what they're going to be changed to, which at the time of this video, it should be having just gone live in the last like 12 hours or so. So this should be live by the time this comes out, and whether or not we think this is going to be a buff or a nerf for both of these characters. So stick around, we're going to look at all that in just 1 second. Okay, so if you don't follow the main Discord, they post every week, basically, some update notes. Sometimes there's very minor things being added every week. Sometimes they have bigger updates and events happening. This week is a little bit more minor in terms of the amount of things happening, but it is kit changes to characters, which at first glance to me looks like they are going to be buffs. It would appear to me that these commanders are going to be getting better, but I'd love to hear what you think. I have not had extensive use with Kirun or any use at all. I don't have Kirun unlocked. I have him almost unlocked. In fact, I believe I have, I'm just a few items away from unlocking Kirun, so if I were to happen to full pull, I would actually have him at a decent respect level. But I have not used Kirun, and I have the King of the Dead, who we're going to talk about in just a second, but I have not been able to use, get the Oathbreakers this season to use with him, so I've also not had extensive looks at his kit. So if you have used these characters and have some insight of how they're being used now, and if you think it's going to change that, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. But the first thing for Kirun is the Golden Visage ability is going to be replaced. Currently, it is for enemy ranged units. They can only cause minimum damage, and they get speed -3.3 starting out here. This is the base level, and the max level effect here is damage dealt for enemy ranged units. It's going to be -5%. The change here is that it's going to be for all enemies. Each round, they have a 75% chance to deal a minimum damage. So instead of being limited to just ranged units, he's going to inflict this on all units at a 75% chance, so a pretty high percent chance. Obviously, it's not going to hit every single time, depending on how many rounds go. But to me, this seems like a good thing because it's going. I feel like there are. I don't know. It just depends on the server you're playing in and where you're using Kirun, depending on who you're fighting. But in the reality is, you have a chance of fighting good and evil units, and I feel like there are a lot of good melee troops on both sides. So to me, this not just being limited to range seems like a good thing. It doesn't mention the speed, so I'm assuming we're losing that. And it doesn't mention the max level effect, which, again, I don't know if that's just going to stay the same. I feel like it wouldn't make a ton of sense to keep it the same since they're kind of moving from range to everything. But I guess we'll see if they end up changing the max level effect to act more like the main ability there. But that is that one there at the R3. The next one is going to be shield training, which is currently range damage receive. It's going to be, for range units, they're going to receive 14% less damage once this is maxed out. And that is going to be replaced by phalanx, which is for melee units. They're going to receive 14% less physical damage. So again, it seems like he's being shifted a little bit away from the ranged, like anti-range, to more general use and melee, which again, I feel like there are more melee characters in the game. So this seems like he's going to get you more use, at least just for me looking at this. But I'm not super versed on like the different kits he even would have, and if this is going to give him more options or just make him better, if this is a part of his current builds or not. But that is the R3 changes for Kirun here. The next one is going to be replaced. It's going to be Marshal of the Eastmark. So again, he's getting a pretty extensive overhaul in the sense that he's switching out his R3 and R5 skills, which again I feel like can really be what make or break a character, especially at this tier 3 level. It also, I think, is good news because it shows us that they can do this, so we can hopefully expect this for other characters to improve in the future. But Marshal of the Eastmark currently is for melee units. They have a 50% chance of reducing damage received by 2% with a max level effect of 15 focus. So again, he's got range at R3, melee at R5. Maybe they're just two competing there for them to have worked. But that is going to be replaced with Master of the War Chariot. This says War Chariots, the first damage dealt is going to be 60% extra. Dragoons against large units are going to deal an extra 30% damage, and the Halberdier against mounted units is going to receive 30% less damage. So again, this seems like it's going to make some of the evil men troops we have better. I am curious with that first round 60% damage that we get with the War Chariot, if that is going to be something that's going to make the War Chariot finally a little bit better of a tier 4 unit. I used it a little bit last season when we were playing as Rune. Just didn't seem like anybody found crazy good use. They're not, it's a tier 4. It's not horrible, but it just seemed like there are better options. So again, this seems like it should be a solid change, but I'm not 100% sure again if this is going to break a current build he was using. So that is the Marshal of the Eastmark replacement there. And then we get a note here that says Master of the War Chariot is a combination of Absolute Leader and Tribal Men, and gives those. But again, we're still going to have, I believe, Tribal Tactics here for evil men to have a higher chance to attack twice. So again, with that high damage of the War Chariot paired with the chance to attack twice, that could make Kirun have some possible early round nuke builds, but we'll see how that ends up panning out. But again, that is Kirun. We're going to look at King of the Dead next. Let me know down below what you think about Kirun. To me, this seems like a buff, but I have not had extensive use, so depending on what builds he would usually be run with, maybe this breaks something that I'm unaware of. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on it. But I'm just happy to see kits being addressed, hopefully in a positive way to make commanders more viable. I just pulled Elrond, for example, who is just seems to be kind of out of favor. So it'd be really nice to see that for him as well in the future. Okay, and next up is going to be the King of the Dead, who I do actually have at Respect 5. He's one that I had a good amount of Respect items for, and then luckily full pulled. But that was right, I believe, when Season 2 is starting, and I have not had access to the Oathbreakers, and so I didn't really spend too much time trying to level him up, but I'm hoping that this maybe will give him some more viability after the Oathbreakers had a slight nerf themselves. So let's go ahead and dig into what this kit is now going to look like. So the first one we're going to look at is Men of the Mountains. This is his base R3 skill, and currently it is King of the Dead. He gets Might plus 15% at the max level. During combat, allied and enemy units deal a minimum damage, which was not a big deal for the Oathbreakers, as I remember, because their damage range was so small, so it was ideally supposed to just keep them about the same and only hurt the enemies, again, if you're running all Oathbreakers with the King of the Dead. That also had a max level effect of Focus 15. Now for Men of the Mountains, it says King of the Dead is going to have Focus 15%, so instead of the Might percentage, we're getting Focus, so extra Focus for him. And Army deals minimum damage. So I assume that's kind of keeping the same thing, just all armies deal minimum damage, but the wording looks a little weird there, so that is Men of the Mountains. Okay, the next one is Incorporeal, which is for the enemy commander. It is Might and Focus negative 15% with a Might 15 effect on the max level here. This one just says deals 200% focus damage. That's it. So I would assume that's being replaced here. To be honest, the King of the Dead wording is a little bit different than Kirun in terms of how they laid it out from what it looks like to me. So I don't think these are being added. I think it is a replacement. But let me know if the text makes more sense to you. But it looks like this is going to be replaced with a focus damage dealing skill here for that one. And then the next one we're going to look at is going to be Army of the Dead. This one is for undead. They gain speed 1.3 starting out and gain stun immunity during combat. And the max level effect here is that undead cannot be affected by any skills from friend or foe cast during the battle preparation phase. Here it looks like it says each round, one allied undead recovers HP twice, effect modified by the focus stat. And then it says they are unaffected by HP recovery debuffs. So again, it seems like now we are getting some extra focus with the ability here, the R3, and this is going to do a twice a round heal modified by focus, which he's getting more of. So again, starting focus stat for him is going to be, let's see, starting focus for him is going to be his lowest stat, but it's at 1.02, so it's not below 1.0, but his highest is at 2.18. So I don't know how much they're wanting to push the focus on King of the Dead here. I also, to my knowledge, these stats won't be changing, but maybe they are shuffling the starting stats. So I guess we'll see when we get on tomorrow if those starting stats have changed. But again, it looks like there's going to be some healing. The healing is for one allied unit, and if you bring all undead, that would cover all of them, and they would recover HP twice, modified by the focus stat. We don't know how much it'll be, but again, that sounds promising to me, so we'll see how that works out. Next is the Deadman of Dun Hero. This is for allied undead. It says they receive damage received is -1% starting out, so it'd be -7% total, and other allied enemy races receive 14%. So basically, if you're running non-undead, they're going to take extra damage, and all the enemy races are going to take extra damage. So it's just, again, they want you to use just Oathbreakers with him, which is fine. And the new skill here they have in the Discord is Deadman of Dun Hero. Deadman of Dun Hero. It says allied undead receive 7% less damage against non-undead enemy units. Damage received plus 14. So the values look like they're staying the same. Although it's the starting value damage received is at 7 in their post. And I can't tell if that's supposed to be maxed out or if they are upping this first one in terms of the damage received. Because if that's the case, they're going to receive a lot less damage than initially. I don't know if that's the max or the starting. I think it's max. So again, we'll see how it's kind of hard to tell in these posts. But basically, it looks like they're going to give you the option to run other undead units, like if you wanted to or were only able to run Barrow Wights, for example. you could look at doing that. And if you were fighting another undead army, they would not, be subject to the extra damage received. But that is the Deadman of Dun Hero. And it looks like that's the last update, the last part of the note here for the King of the Dead. Again, we get some healing, we get some extra focus. Again, the healing is going to be based on focus. So there are, other things in his kit that I think could possibly increase that focus even more. Like we do see the minimum amount in the focus. You get the max focus here. This is going to do focus percentage. So it'll be interesting to see how much focus we're able to get him up to, especially with good items. And if this is going to make him even more viable, if it makes the Oathbreakers even more viable. Again, he's an undead king, so I feel like he's such a cool tier 3 commander. I mean, a lot of the tier 3 commanders are really cool, so it's really, really a shame to see some that are not up to par. Literally, some tier 3 commanders getting outplayed by tier 2 commanders is kind of a shame, I think. So hopefully they continue to do stuff like this. I was actually getting ready to make a video before I saw this news about possible suggestions for reworks for certain characters. So I think this confirms that this is something they can do. I don't know how long this took them. I hope it wasn't ridiculous, because I would love to see them tweak a few kits. We don't need to creep up the power levels and make Elrond all of a sudden the best character in the game. But when you pull a tier 3, it should be a big deal. You should be excited and hopefully be able to get some use out of them. Even at lower respect levels, I still think it'd be nice to be able to get some use, because it just seems silly to pull a tier 3, 1 in 1,000 chances, and have no use till they're at R3 or R5. So I feel like, R1 should at least be on par with maybe tier 1 commanders. R3 is on par with like some of the better tier 3 commanders. And then respect 5 really gets them to their max potential. To me, that would make sense if they stepped things like that. But I don't know how much they're looking at all those mechanics put together. So again, those are the update notes for Kirun and the King of the Dead. They seem good to me. Let me know what you think down below if you've had use of them, especially if this changes things in their kits that they're currently good at. But otherwise, I'm excited to see these guys, see what things look like tomorrow, kind of get some confirmations on how some of the wording seemed weird for some of this stuff. So going to confirm some of that tomorrow. But that's everything I got for you in this one, and I hope to see you in a future video.